Hello and welcome back to another Project Diablo 2 video. I am Kordesh and today we are going to be answering the question, are percent damage large charms worth using? Let's get into it. Alright, the first thing that we're going to be doing is looking at a character in the closed beta. So right now he's got some gear. I'll highlight it if you're interested. This isn't super min-maxed or anything. I just wanted to throw some gear on, kind of some in-game gear, and get kind of plus 15 all skills. So we have a level 35 Blessed Hammer. And as you can see, we have 0 charms. So, we could put an Annie on, we could put a Hellfire Torch. Not that relevant. I just wanted plus 35 to Blessed Hammer, and we have 33 to Concentration. So, we're not running Concentration Ore right now. And let's go ahead and look at Excel. Alright, so I have Microsoft Excel up, and we have Blessed Hammer, and I have it enlarged, so I'm hoping that you can see it. I'm also going to move my camera up a little bit, so I'm not going to be blocking anything. Actually, that will block something later on, so I'll put it like in the middle. Okay, so what do we have here? So this is just copy and pasted from the wiki as far as Blessed Hammer. And so you can see the magic damage per each level. I also have the synergies here. So we have 2 synergies at 12% magic damage, which equates to 480 magic damage once you max both of those out. So if we go over here and grab a level 35 Blessed Hammer, the minimum damage is 396. So I've got some equations and stuff kind of hit up right here, and so we're going to go ahead and look at it. So what is going on here? We have the synergies, which is 480. The minimum damage on Blessed Hammer is 396. And then we're not going to use Concentration Ore right now. I can put it on later. And yeah, so what is this stuff? So these are basically charms. So these are the changing variables on the charms. So effectively, if I put a 1 here, it is the same as equipping 1 Grand Charm. If I put a 1 here, it's effectively equipping 1 vertical column of medium charms. So if I go back to the closed beta real quick, as you can see, this is 1 column. So that's why it's 8%, because we have 2 of these. And if we go back to Excel, that's why we have this 8% here. This 14 flat magic damage is just the difference between level 35 and level 36. That's, that it gains 14 every time you gain a level towards the end game. That's just what it does. So that's kind of the values of these charms. Now, we can use this to figure out what is optimal for your character. And I'm going to spend most of my time on Blessed Hammer. I have some other charts with the other stuff, and you can play around with those. But I really want to focus on this. So as you can see, we don't have any charms. We have level 35. We have max energies, and this says 2296 damage, 0.8. We go over here, and let's see here. Okay, we have these charms. We take these off. 2296, exactly the same as Excel. So pretty good stuff, pretty accurate. Now, if we put on, if we equip those 2 medium charms, it says 2480. Let's go and put those back on. We should see around 2480. Boom, 2480. So the formula that I have seems to be dead on accurate, and basically what it is this damage equation. I can highlight it and you can kind of interpret it. But basically what happens is you take the flat damage first, and then you multiply that by the synergies, and then the increases damage, and then the auras. So that's how this formula is working. And yeah, so now let's get into the fun stuff. So are the charms worth using? And the answer is it depends. So it's kind of like crit damage and crit multiplier. Both of these things, the more you have one of, the more flat damage you have, the more beneficial percentage damage is. The more percent damage you have, the more beneficial flat damage is. So you're going to want to kind of balance the 2 of them depending on where you're at. So with this character being at level 35, let's go ahead and, look it over. So what you could do is you could, plug in 1 or 2 in 1 and just kind of keep updating and looking at this. I'm going to go ahead and put the Concentration Ore back in and figure out, what's the highest number. But that's going to take a lot of work and be unnecessary. So what are these other 3 things? So these are, just the upper and lower bounds. So you can have 0 equipped charms, or you can have 9. This is just the aggregate of the 2 variable cells. And that's important for what I'm going to show you next. So let's go ahead and do options, add-ins, solver add-on. So this is a very, very useful tool that you can use. And so we're going to hit go. And when you hit go, you can pick, yep, add this. Okay, cool. And this has to be used in Microsoft Excel. If you try and use the solver add-on on Google Sheets, it is trash. It will not work, and I will explain on that a little bit more. So we're going over to the solver add-on. Boom, we click solver, and I've already set it up, but I can kind of talk about it a little bit. I don't think I can make this any larger, which is unfortunate, but basically we're going to set the objective cell. And what this means is we're trying to maximize our damage. And by maximizing our damage, this is the damage equation that we have plugged in. So we want that number to be as high as possible. So we're going to click max. If we wanted it to be as low as possible, you can do minimum. But we're trying to pump some DPS. So we're gonna maximize that. Now it says we can change variable cells. So what cells should we change? We're going to change these orange ones, and that is effectively equipping different charms. If we go back to Diablo 2, if we have a Torch and an Annie, that means we have 9 other rows. So that's 9 grand charms or 9 sets of double large charms. That's kind of where we're at on that. So that's what these variable cells are. We just pick these two. And then as far as constraints, this is a little bit different and probably a little bit more complicated, but I'll try and explain each of these. So there's 3 of them for this cell right here. And basically what this is saying is like, hey, we can have either 0 or between 0 and 9 grand charms, and it has to be a whole number. It has to be an integer. And then as far as for the double large charms, you can have between 0 and 9. And then that also has to be a number. And then also for this thing right here, since this is an aggregate of the two, this aggregate has to be between 0 and 9. So if you want to use 5 grand charms and then 4 sets of large charms, that still equals 9. You're good. You can equip that. But we cannot equip more charms than we have inventory space then. So that's what these constraints are for. They're just limiting it to whole numbers and making sure they're not going out of bounds as far as what we can actually put in our inventory. So other stuff that we can do, I check to make sure it's not negative. We're not dealing with any negative numbers here. I don't want it to be like, negative 2 grand charms plus 2 large charms. I don't care about anything. I just don't want negatives. As far as the solving method, GRG nonlinear, specifically because this is not a linear equation. There's a lot of different factors. This is the one that works. And as far as options go, I did a forward derivative. And I don't know if that's necessarily matters, but it works. So if you're having difficulty, go ahead and do that. And we're going to click solve. So this will maximize our charm usage. And we have a solver solution. So check that out. And what does solver say? It says nothing but magic large charms. Just max them out. That's how you maximize your damage. And we're like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's definitely a big upgrade. Now, sorry about that. So let's talk about some other stuff. What happens if we're only like level 20? So let's say we don't have concentration aura. We're only level 20. And we can go look at the level 20 damage. So let's see here. Level 20 damage, 196. So let's go ahead and put 196 in here. And yeah, is this solver still going to be the same? Let's solve it. It's not. It actually optimizes where you have to use some grand charms and some medium, large charms. And I really wanted to point this out. This is character dependent. So should you use the large charms? I don't know. I don't know what level your character is. I don't know how many synergies you have. I don't know what kind of gear level you're at. This is something you're going to have to run for your characters to optimize your damage. And it's a really useful tool. So I'm not really going to go over all the other stuff. It's pretty much set up the same way. You have the skill damage, the synergies, the same little formula set up on each one of these. And so we have Bone Spirit, Holy Bolt, Dark Pact. Holy Bolt and Dark Pact a little bit different just because, we have 3 Holy Bolts. Dark Pact, you have to have that like weird ramp up time. Frozen Orb, it shows per projectile, I believe. And so I multiplied the projectile damage by like 10 or something. I don't remember exactly. But with the Sorceress stuff, and the reason why I included 1 is Grand Charms actually give 2% increased damage as well. So I had to include that in. And so what I did for that is over here, basically that's what this little note is. And this just says every time you add 1 Grand Charm, we're going to add 2% damage. So I'll go ahead and show that. So 1, 2%. If I add all 9, we're at 18%. And all that is affecting the math here. As you can see, this cell is included in the final calculation. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, should you use the percent damage large charms? Yeah, absolutely. Now, when should you use them? That depends. It just depends. And that's why I have this tool. This Excel sheet is going to be in the description. If you need to know more information about Solver, feel free to ask me any questions in the comments down below. Or, there's lots of videos on Excel Solver on YouTube, on the internet, whatever. But yeah, this is a great tool. Definitely use it. And yeah, I'll see you next time.